Alright, here's the story. 2300 BC, there was a flood. Huge amounts of water came out of the sky and all over the place. It came up out of the earth and whatever, but it deluged the earth, and there was a huge flood. That is what the historical record says. 1500 BC, Exodus occurred. And also, Venus erupted from Jupiter. That is a historical fact. Velikovsky has researched that, and it was written in the papyruses, in the Chinese literature, everywhere. So 1500 BC, Venus erupted from Jupiter. That is a fact. Now, at that same time, the Bible started. At that same time, heavy red dust fell on the earth. At that same time, stones fell all over the earth, and the earth was wrenched and almost totally destroyed, it said, and that's why they were so scared of the comets. Also, manna fell on the earth that fed the Exodus survivors in the desert. And then in 0, Jesus was born. And he said, I am the manna. I was the manna. And he said that. My body fell from space and fed the Jews in the desert. Now, let's read Revelations 12. Alright, this is one of the most incredible passages in the Bible. Let's read it. It talks about the woman and the dragon. This is Revelations 12. It says that a great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. She's standing on the moon giving birth, it says. Then another sign appeared in the heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns on its heads. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth so it might devour her child the moment he was born. This is amazing. And this is what it's saying. The Bible's saying it. She gave birth to a son, a male child who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. And her child was snatched up to God and to his throne. And then it goes on, and then there was a war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. A tremendous war. Now, let's go back to the other thing. Hold on one second. All right, if you took that literal, let's just take that literal and say that actually happened. What would happen? Well, there's going to be a birth in space, which is she's going to break her water, which would create a flood on Earth, which happened at 2300 BC. And then at 1500 BC, there was red dust and stone, and manna fell all over the earth, which red dust is blood, which would come from afterbirth. Stones are from the umbilical cord, which is extremely mineralized. And the manna was from placenta, which is extremely lactose infused at the moment of birth. It becomes a literal bag of milk. Now, that all stuff happened. There's no question these things occurred. And Jesus was born at 0. And he ended up saying, I was the manna. I, in fact, fell from space. My body fed your fathers in the desert. And that's all there was to it. That's a fact. He said it. I truly, truly, truly tell you that. They thought he was crazy. They said, we know where you came from. How can you possibly say that? And they were literally, I think, at that moment going to kill him, and many turned away. So, anyway, I'm saying that if all those things happened and there was a birth in space, that's exactly what would happen. That's what Revelations 12 says. I don't know what to say about it. Now, as I start reading it a little deeper, the 12 crowns on her head were the 12 titans of the Gaia mythology, and the 7 dragons crowns were the 7 churches that he was referring to, John of Patmos. It's all very, very pretty obvious when you start looking at the chemistry and what the facts say. That's all there is. It's the facts. And Venus was literally erupted from Jupiter. Look it up, Velikovsky. Look it up, Worlds in Collision. Go on YouTube. Worlds in Collision, fabulous. Fabulous. And that was the truth. And they squelched it, and they're still trying to squelch it because it literally destroys evolution. It's ridiculous, actually. When you think molecules bumping together did all this, it's insanity. But this is what we got. You take it or leave it. It's up to you. Have a nice day. Goodbye. All right, so let's put the pieces together. 2300 BC, she's standing on the moon giving birth, and her water breaks. And it creates a flood on Earth. She's screaming for 800 years. Gives birth to a male child who will rule all the world with an iron scepter. That was 1500 BC. They said, all right, you guys are going to be my people. You're going to be the Jews, and you're going to be the guys that are going to take care of this for me. Fix up the world after the flood to get rid of all the giants, which I had found. I had the giants and their DNA tested. That's a fact. Velikovsky did the research that Venus was born from Jupiter. That's a fact. That's no question. It's a fact. It's in papyrus, not some blog that somebody said, ooh, it's just funny. This is all facts I'm giving you. All of these things happen. It's all recorded in the Bible. The Jews are going to be his guys. The red dust, the stones, the manna, all of that stuff is from a birth. Red dust is from blood, stones is from the umbilical cord, extremely mineralized. Manna is from the placenta, which is literally a bag full of milk when the baby's born. It's infused with lactogenic proteins. It's milk. It's milk. That's what it is. Where else is milk? Well, how could you possibly think that these things could have happened here on Earth and not have the sequence of events? At 0, Jesus is born. So here he is over here, Son of God being born. Here he is over here, Son of Man being born. All this is all true. It's all working. At 0, and then he comes out and he says to all his buddies, he says, I was the bread that fell out of the sky. I was the manna. It was my body. Truly, 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 it was my body. He said that. And he wasn't kidding him out. He wasn't saying it was like my body, something sort of like that. My body fed your ancestors. Case closed. Now, no, I don't know where to go with that. It looks like it works for me. I don't know about you, but you make up your own mind. I'm not trying to force anybody to believe anything, but I believe it. It sounds like it's right to me. And everything else I found in the Bible is it all makes sense. And as you go back, the 12 crowns on her head, or the 12 stars, or whatever they were, those are the 12 titans that made up the earth. The earth was made up by Gaia. Go back to the beginning. It's all right. And the 7 dragon crowns, or whatever it was, the heads, those were the 7 churches that he's referring to. They turned against him. It's all understood. He put a bunch of guys down here to do the job. They turned against him. He's coming back to straighten it out. They killed Jesus. Now we got to get back and straighten this thing out. And we all got to get together because it's coming. It's a fact. It's what it says.